Hey everybody, so in this video we're going to talk about where to find funding during the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's get started. The budget. I help new and small nonprofits get up and running. I wanted to talk to you today about where you can find funding, including grant funding and other places to find money for your nonprofit while we're dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. So in another video, I talked about, should you be grant writing? Should you be looking for funding during this time? The answer is yes. So we don't even need to talk about that. So now let's talk about, well, where do you look? Where are the potential places you can get money right now? So if you're interested in other videos like this, please remember to subscribe to my channel. I drop a new video every week. And before we start talking about where the opportunities are for funding, I want to talk about the step you need to do first, and that is to prepare yourself. Now, there's a lot of money being thrown around to help people kind of brace for the impact and the fallout of COVID-19, but you got to be smart about what you need to pursue and what's not the best option for you. And the best way to do that is for you to sit down with your board and figure out what exactly you need. So where are your biggest losses and where are your biggest needs? Because it may be that payroll is the issue. It may be that you don't have enough money to pay staff, or it may be that you don't have enough money to pay your rent or pay utilities. It may be that there's one funding source that is just gone completely down. So like, for example, you may not be able to do a fundraiser which supports more of your admin dollars, so you can't afford your accountant or you can't afford your insurance. So first, before you even decide to pursue funding, you really need to think about where is the loss? What are you missing? And that will help you understand what opportunities are right for you and which ones are not so right for you, okay? The other piece of advice I would give you is that if you have been providing services for a while, brainstorm ways that you can remain relevant during this time. So in a lot of ways, services for some nonprofits, you just can't do them the way you intended to do them. And one example I'll give you is I have a client that I'm working with, and he does an after-school program in a state where school has been shut down, and it is shut down for the rest of the school year. So the way he was envisioning doing services this year has been completely disrupted. He can't do what he was doing before. So if you're going to ask for money and you want to stay afloat, the question is, how can you ask for money when you can't even provide services? Like, what's the gap there? How do you figure that out? And my suggestion is that you brainstorm ways you can stay relevant and still provide services and meet the needs of your clients, just in a different kind of way. So for example, he cannot be face-to-face. He cannot have the kids gather in a group anymore. But what's stopping his staff from reaching out to the kids and checking in with them and making sure they're doing what they need to do to stay on track, right? So the focus of his program is a lot around trauma and meeting the social emotional needs of kids. And we know that that may be severely impacted if kids are not in households that are necessarily supportive, or they don't have a good balance of being around their friends or around their peers. Kids are suffering being at home too, as well as the parents. So there's a way that his program can still meet those needs, even though he's not doing the traditional after-school work of tutoring and mentoring kids at his building. So we talked about, well, what are ways you can check in with the kids? What are ways you can check in, do calls, do like a little assessment to see where the kids are, give respite to their parents? Can you check in with the parents and ask them what their needs are, what's missing, what do they need help with? Just so you can still remain relevant and still provide a service. That's still a service that you're providing to those kids and to those parents. And when you go to your funders and when you ask for money to continue services, you can make a compelling ask based on the real-time needs of the people you've talked to. So by talking to the kids on the phone, you may realize, well, a lot of these kids don't have access to the internet, or their parents don't have time or don't have the skill to help them work through their homework. So we have decided that we're going to do this. We're going to do like a group chat or a group FaceTime or whatever to help kids work through problems or to meet the needs that we heard about on the phone. Your ask becomes that much more compelling when you can speak real time to what you're hearing, to what's happening in the field. A lot of the funders are hungry to know what's happening. We don't know. They don't necessarily have a direct connection to the community, and you are their link. So be their link, be relevant, be the expert. Go to them and say, this is what we're hearing. This is what we need. And don't just go to them with needs, go to them with solutions too. You can say, so like for example, in this area, it's pretty rural and people don't have reliable connection to internet. You can go to the funder and say, well, in other places we've heard about a Google bus where they actually like provide internet access to people in an area. So like for maybe 2-3 hours a day, people can get on and connect to that Google bus or whatever it is, so they can have reliable internet to get their schoolwork done, and that's that. So that's an innovative idea that you can pitch to a funder that isn't necessarily providing food, like all the emergency needs that a lot of the funding is going towards, but it's still a great idea and it's still meeting the needs of your target population. It's still a service that is similar to the services that he was providing. So just think out of the box and make sure you have a compelling ask when you go to these funders. So just keep that in mind. So number one, know what you need and know what you want to ask for. And two, make sure that ask is compelling and that it relates to what's going on with the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so I want to talk about what's out there, what are options that you may think of exploring for your nonprofit. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is assistance from the federal government. And then I'll walk through other options that you have. So it's been a couple of weeks since funding was announced for small businesses. So small businesses could also mean nonprofits, but there are two particular programs that were being pushed to help nonprofits kind of recover and try to bounce back from the fallout of COVID-19. So the first program is the Paycheck Protection Program. And the point of that is to make sure that businesses don't have to lay off their staff to make sure they can maintain normal operations during a certain period so that there's not a huge impact on the economy, right? So the purpose of that program is to look at businesses' payroll, pay a portion of that payroll, and allow them to stay afloat. So here's some things to keep in mind with the Paycheck Protection Program. You have to have a relationship with the bank that you work with. If they are an SBA, so a Small Business Administration approved lender, they would submit the application for you. So you can only get this loan through this program through a lender who has a relationship with the SBA and who has a relationship with you. As of the recording of this video, there are some other businesses that can submit loan applications for you. Intuit, PayPal, and there are a couple of others that have stepped up and who can also submit those applications for you if your bank isn't an approved lender, or some banks aren't even putting in applications. So just keep that in mind. So what you're going to have to do is give an estimate of your monthly payroll, and then there's a formula that they use, and they're going to give you about 2.5 times the amount of your payroll as a part of this loan. Now, this money can only be used for payroll, rent, and utilities. If it's used for other things, your potential to have it forgiven is gone. So in this loan, businesses can get this forgiven if in the 8 weeks after they get the loan, they use it on payroll and rent and utilities. So that means you don't have to pay it back if you use it for those purposes. But if you use it for something else, you run the risk of having to pay it back and other things. Also keep in mind that you have, as of the recording of this video, you have until June 30th to apply. Just keep this in mind. Things change literally daily. So from the first day it was released in early April, I think it was April the 3rd, things have shifted, things have changed, rules have been adjusted. So just be patient and just be diligent about making sure you know the latest information about these federal programs, because stuff is changing so rapidly and the government really does not have the capacity to do what they're trying to do. So there's going to be a lot of mistakes along the way. And there are some banks who are they're just not apt, or they're not ready to respond in the best way. So just keep that in mind. As of the recording of this video, for the first round of the Paycheck Protection Loan, the money has run out. It was literally, I think, like over $300 billion, and the money is gone. I've been hearing a lot of rumbling about more money being released, so just keep that in mind. Still apply if you think it applies to you, but just keep in mind that you have to move fast because the money will go out quickly. The other federal program that may be of assistance to you is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This is a loan that was already in place by the Small Business Administration. It's put in place to help people recover, or help businesses recover from natural disasters, like, for example, Hurricane Sandy. And they opened this program up to respond to the coronavirus. And as a part of that program, they allowed businesses to have an advance. Now, it was supposed to be within 3 days, you can get an advance of $10,000 for this particular loan. That did not happen. A lot of people applied. It's been way more than 3 days, but that was the intention of the program. Remember how I said things are just changing rapidly and the government doesn't have the capacity to respond to this? Just keep that in mind when I'm talking about these programs. So that is a loan through the SBA. So that means you're going to have to go through the process of submitting documentation to show that they are actually going to give you money that you're going to have to pay back, right? But as a part of this 3-day advance in response to the coronavirus, they are giving people an advance, and they're saying if you go through the process and if it comes out that you actually are not eligible for the loan, you don't have to pay the loan back. You can have the $10,000. But I'm also hearing now that it's only forgiven up to $1,000 per employee. So if you got $10,000 as an advance and you have 2 employees, you have to pay back the $8,000. So I just want you guys to keep in mind, just pay attention to what the Treasury Department is putting out. Pay attention to the Small Business Administration, because this stuff changes all the time. And if you have issues with this as a business, make sure you are communicating with your senators and your representatives, because if you make a lot of noise and you complain a lot, this may change. All of this is rapidly changing, rapidly moving. So just keep that in mind, that if it's an issue for you and your community, make sure you make your voice known and talk to your congressman about this issue. The next place you may find money is definitely your community foundation. So community foundations across the country have responded in like fabulous ways, fantastic ways in reaction to what's happening in their local communities. Most community foundations are like the biggest foundations in their state or in their local area anyway, so it makes sense that they would respond so quickly. But in my local area, my community foundation got a donation from Amazon, and they've gotten donations from different areas, and they have created a COVID-19 relief fund. So many areas have done that. So check in with your community foundation to see if there's funding available through them. That would be grant funding. But keep in mind that there are kind of like 2 competing areas of grant funding. So one is emergency services to assist people on the front lines and to assist people who are dealing with issues from losing their jobs, who need food, things like that, who need like rent assistance. So there's relief funding for that. But there's also relief funding to help businesses cope with this impact on their operations because of these stay-at-home orders. And sometimes some community foundations pay attention to one over the other, or maybe they'll do it in rounds. So right now they may be paying attention to emergency funding, and then they'll get to the businesses later. So just keep in mind that a lot of this funding that's being mobilized and being gathered may not be relevant for the services you're providing yet. So make sure you pay attention to the guidelines. And what I'll say is that what applies for community foundations and for any funder still applies now. It's really important that you build relationships with these funders before you seek funding, so that they know who you are, they know your value, and they can think of you when they're trying to figure out where to disperse this money. So I'm going to talk about 2 more potential places you can find funding during this COVID-19 crisis. So I'm going to be real and say that traditional fundraising right now is just a struggle, okay? So people can't do normal events. They can't necessarily run campaigns the way they normally run their fundraising campaigns. So I'm not going to go too deep into all the ways nonprofits make money. I'm going to highlight one particular way that you may be able to find money right now to fund your operations. That is a part of all of the fundraising that nonprofits may do. So if you are a small and new nonprofit, it's really important for you, whenever you go out into the community, whenever you have an engagement with somebody, that you have a database of all your contacts. Whoever has volunteered with you, whoever has expressed interest in your organization, who's ever given money to you. That database should include their name, any kind of contact information you may have for them, email, phone, mailing address, what's the nature of the relationship with you. So have they given? How did they volunteer? How do they know about you? Any kind of notes about those people. It's important for you to have a running database of supporters, because those are people you want to build up kind of like a donor family. You want to nurture relationships with them so they can go along the journey with you. And before now, you should have been communicating with them, letting them know who you are, what you're doing, the impact that you're making. But if you haven't, this is an opportunity to begin reaching out to them now and to say, hey, in response to what's going on, we just want to let you know what we're doing, how we're making a difference, and what we're hearing on the front lines. You need to engage your donors because they want to feel like they gave their money to something good. They want to feel like they were a part of a solution. So let them know what the solution is. Let them know how their money and how their support has helped someone else, okay? And what I would say is, don't just reach out to them with the intent of getting money, right? So like, your messaging shouldn't be about, hey, we need money, donate now. First, your very first engagement with them during this time should be, how are you doing? Are you okay? Okay, that it should be a genuine relationship. You want to know how they're doing. You want to make sure they're good. Some people may be good and may be able to donate. Some people may not be, but that doesn't matter. These are your supporters. These are people you are supposed to care about. Ask them how they are. Then you can start talking about, this is what we're doing. This is how we've had to pivot during this time. Just talk about your experience. People want to know the behind the scenes. That helps draw them in. And then when it's appropriate and if you need money, then you can say, we need this amount of money to provide this service. It is so needed right now because of this. So remember the beginning of the video when I talked about having a compelling ask? That's why it's important to have a compelling ask, so people have a reason to want to give to you. And people are grown, right? So you may feel like, I don't want to ask for money. People may be struggling. People are grown. People can decide whether or not they want to give or not. So, but they can't make that choice unless you ask them, right? But just be respectful in your ask. And as I said, don't let your first interaction with them during this time be, hey, we need money. Ask them how they're doing. And if there are people who have especially been important or really engaged or have been really helpful towards your mission, you should have some kind of personal connection, like a phone call, like a personal phone call, just to check on them. That matters. That's important. So just keep that in mind. And the last thing I'll say about finding funding or sources of money for your nonprofit during this time is, again, something you should have been doing anyway. The same rules apply, but it just makes it so much more evident during this time that you should be doing stuff like this. So I have a grant worksheet which helps you figure out who in your area are potential funding sources for your mission. So it encourages you to look at where you shop personally, where you shop professionally, look at banks and utility companies, look at local clubs, look at your United Way and things like that. So you should be doing this as an organization anyway, trying to expand your network, trying to figure out who has a stake in your local community, who has a strong business presence in your local community, because a lot of those businesses and a lot of those organizations have funding that they have available that they want to help support their community. Some businesses are not doing well right now, but some are thriving and some do want to help. So doing that process of figuring out who's in your community network can help you figure out where funding opportunities lie in your surrounding area, in your immediate area. But I'm going to say this, if you have not been doing a lot of work, if people don't know you very well, if you're not necessarily a credible organization yet, or this is your first time reaching out to these funders it's not very likely that you're going to get funded. So my recommendation to you is take this time to start building relationships. It's never too late. Start reaching out to them and letting them know, hey, we saw that you fund in our local area. Just want to let you know what we're doing, and we would be interested in partnering with you in any way. So make it about genuine partnership. Start building those bridges now, making those relationships now for them to pay off later. They may not pay off now. They may not be giving money now, but that's not a reason to abandon these potential relationships. Okay? So I hope that was helpful. Download my grants worksheet because it will help you figure out where to find those people and how to contact them. So don't forget to download that in the description box below. And also there are a couple other helpful sheets and links for you in the description box. If you have questions for me, visit me at my website at www.bossandabudget.com, and I will see you in the next video.